Welcome to Got Grass, conversations with the legends and leaders of bluegrass. You've enjoyed live bluegrass at Guitar Town CT concerts in Hampton, Connecticut since 2008. From Tony Rice, Rouse Stanley, and Doyle Lawson to Tim O'Brien, Sierra Hall, and Billy Strings. Now you can go behind the scenes as we chat with your favorite bluegrass stars. I'm your podcast host, Chris Worth. So I want to welcome Kenny and Amanda Smith to Got Grass. This is our 24th episode, and we're very happy to have you guys here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, man, so glad to be on here.
To the worldwide audience, hopefully.
Yeah.
Where are you guys now? Are you home or are you traveling?
We're home.
We're home, yeah. We're in, this is my office slash art room. And then I got with my website, my teaching website, I do all my editing here in this room. So spend a lot of time in here. Seems like it.
Yeah. She knows where to find you when you're not at the dinner table, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I always like to start out with a non-music question, which is, what would a perfect day look like for you guys without any interruptions or musical stuff going on? Either together or separately? What would be a perfect day for you?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's
a great question.
So I was going to ask you about guitar picks. And I probably will, but I'll start with this.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Perfect day. What do you think?
Man, it's hard to, perfect day for me, I guess. I've been messing around building like a Texas offset barbecue pit, and I've been busy on that. I've collected, I guess, the parts and stuff. I have 2 air compressor tanks, one for the cook chamber and one for the firebox. So I've been busy reading up on that and busy trying to make that. And it's like a 120 gallon thing. That's something that's, I guess, totally separate from what I usually do with the guitar and music. So it gets I don't know, I got a kind of an engineering background, and that helps me with that, I guess. It's something totally different for me to get that thing all together and welded, and that's a different process too. So
Mine would be camping. My
Camping.
perfect would be camping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sitting out in the fall.
Yeah. That sounds like more fun than welding.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you two in the bluegrass world, but could you just each start out with a short bio of yourselves for those who might not know your story that well? Just a quick summary of your lives to date, if you could.
Want to go first?
Gosh. Well, me personally, I've sang ever since I was little. I really didn't sing out. I sang some out at home in contests and things like that growing up, and in church. And did a few shows just for like ice cream socials, little things, and really didn't perform professionally until Kenny and I met. And when he left the Lonesome River Band, then we started our band. That's kind of my background to date.
Mine, I started playing. My dad was a really good fiddler, and he played in a lot of old country bands, and then he was playing, square dance stuff and that kind of thing. But I was always around music, and he was actually a really good woodworker, and he made a guitar for my cousin, and he kind of kept it in his closet, and he told me and my brother never to mess with it. And of course, that was the first thing I did when he left home to go to work. I was about 4 years old at the time, and I was trying to play this guitar, and it kept me busy all the time. So my mom, she never told my dad anything about, hey, I was going in there trying to play this guitar. And one day he come home early from work. I think his machine broke, and then he caught me in there trying to learn how to play. And then he taught me G, C, and D, 3 chords, and The next day when he come home from work, I had those chords down. So that's kind of how my music journey started. And then, kind of fast forward to, 1993. I got to go to my first IBMA, and there in Owensboro, Kentucky, and I got to talking to a lot of the people there that was in attendance, and a lot of my heroes was there, and got to talk to them about, you know, just to see if they were doing that, full time, and a lot of them were, and so that kind of changed my path. And actually thinking about music, doing it full time. And I remember coming back from IBMA having a really broader outlook on music, because my dad, he never got to do it full time, and it was just always something we did on the weekends, and then I don't know, at some point in time there, I just kind of went for it, and then actually ended up trying out for the Lonesome River Band, and got the job with those guys, and that was a big that was a big deal for me, because I was a huge fan of that group before Sammy and Ronnie and them asked me to try out. So that was pretty much, I guess, about, 30 or so years wrapped up, I guess, in a couple of sentences.
Yeah. So when you joined that band, were you the only guitarist auditioning? Like, was it your job to lose, or did they ask other people too?
They asked too. I never did know who else tried out. I know they had been trying out people, and I was at the time I was playing with Claire Lynch and the Front Porch String Band, and at some point in time, Sammy left Lonesome River Band there just for almost, I think it was just like a weekend, and actually got the job with Claire while I was playing in that group. He came down for a weekend, and but then he, on the way back to Virginia, he ended up rejoining Lonesome River Band. But what was, I guess, that deal? I guess he saw, and felt how we played together, and I guess he just remembered me from then, and going through that, that process, that when he was, thinking about joining Claire Lynch, and so that's where that kind of carried over. And I saw him at the Gettysburg, or might have been Graves Mountain, and I picked with him then for the first time, just kind of backstage. And yeah, it was just kind of he asked me for my number, and then Tim Austin, he was the original owner of the group. He ended up had built a great studio, and he was really getting a lot of work at that time, and so much work that he felt he needed to do that more than being on the road.
I see your daughter. I remember when she was born, because I think you were up here and she was a little baby. How old is she? Like 11 now, or
He's 9.
9? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And her name is, I mean, think of Amelia, maybe? Is that it?
Annabelle.
Annabelle. I knew it was an A.
Amelia's pretty though. That's
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah. So I was going to ask you, Amanda, you obviously grew up with music in your household and your life as a kid. Did you listen to bluegrass, or was it the church mostly that influenced your musical taste, do you think?
Yeah, so nobody played in my family, but they always had music going. Mom and dad always played some kind of radio, or music was always rolling. But I didn't hear bluegrass until high school. But I grew up listening to a lot of gospel music and singing in church, and then a lot of 80s pop and a lot of country. Whatever, I had a little radio, and I would just constantly flip around to different stations and listen. Mom listened, her and dad listened to a lot of 50s and 60s rock, and like Chubby Checker, all that stuff, and then the Creedence, all kinds of, I mean, they just constantly had music going, but unfortunately not bluegrass. We just didn't have a lot of bluegrass in the area in West Virginia where I was at.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to really hear that until high school.
I have to ask your daughter a question because my youngest daughter is just about to turn 17, and I wonder if your daughter is a Taylor Swift fan. She like
Yeah.
Taylor Swift?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You do.
My
Well,
all
that's
my
not like
daughters love
her
her.
favorite. Her favorite is, can you tell me? Megan Trainor.
Oh yeah.
She likes Megan Trainor the best, but she does like Taylor, which she sings to all kinds of stuff. She's like me. She's
Hmm.
constantly singing. And but yeah, she knows
Yeah.
all the words to Taylor stuff.
So Kenny, what did you learn from if you want to say something else, she can be the star of the show here.
Oh, she said, no, I don't know all the words.
Yeah, but you know enough to sing along.
She knows a bunch of them.
Don't worry, picture's not going to be on here, just your voice, so you're fine. Um, Kenny, can you talk a little bit about what you learned from playing with Claire Lynch? What did you have anything that especially remember about that you learned from Claire at that point, or?
Yeah, that was kind of my first kind of introduction, to playing on the kind of that level. And Claire was always songwriting, and Larry at the time, her husband, Larry was a good arranger, and he had these arrangements of the songs, and we'd get together and practice, those arrangements and everything. And it was that was a good first group for me to be in because of the originality of the songs, and then seeing them work through the arrangements and it was good for me, and it wasn't a group that where you hopped in a van and everybody, you just had to know what time to meet the van. We did all the traveling ourselves, so we would meet at the gig, and that was a great thing for me. It taught me how to read a map and book my own room, and later on, that means a lot, when you're a sideman, you learn all that stuff and kind of learn the in and outs of, uh, especially with a working group, when we started, when me and Amanda formed our group, I'd already been doing a lot of that stuff, and so that was a big, the experience alone, just in that first group was really good for me. And then, later on, she hired Ricky Simpkins, played in that group, in which he had, man, I learned a lot off of those Ricky and Ronnie Simpkins, traveling with those guys. Those guys are, they had been on the road since they were teenagers with, Virginia Squires, and man, those guys knew every trick in the book, as far as how to get to the gig. I learned off of those guys, man. You always get there a couple hours early because you never know what's going to happen. And it has happened to us where, if we hadn't, prepared, man, we wouldn't have made the gig. So I don't know. Every group's got its experiences that you learn from, each band leader, and that's what I try to take from all those groups I've been in. You learn from the people that you're working for.
Right. I remember the first show that I ever did up here was Tony Rice Unit, all instrumental. Of course, Ricky was in the band. So the person who was the last to show up, obviously, was Tony, because they were all there an hour and a half before, and now a
Yeah.
half hour to go, and no Tony and no Wyatt. And oh my God. And I got on the phone, and they were a little lost. And they finally they pulled into the parking lot in that black truck of his, about 40 miles an hour, skidded to a stop, and out he jumped. I said, "Phew, you're here." That was,
That
but
is great.
I guess they do that. They always travel separately in his band and just arrived there, and hopefully they all got there. But
Yeah, um, that was a great group. I was fortunate enough to when we was in Lonesome River Band, to play along. It seemed like that we were always on the same day or pretty close to where Tony was playing, and I got to see him a lot, which was, I mean, anytime you see that guy play the guitar, I mean, it's a learning experience, or it was for me, especially if you're a guitar player. I was taking notes mentally, on everything that he was doing. And anytime I got to talk to him, that he knew more about the acoustic guitar, I believe, than anybody, and it was just, I was just really fortunate because, now I get in some of these groups, on Facebook and stuff, and a lot of the younger people, they've never saw him play live, which it was an experience of its own. Of course, being a promoter and stuff and having him there at your venue, it was just it was electrifying, I guess, to say the least, when they would start a set off.
Right. I want to switch gear. I'll get back to Tony Rice, but I want to switch gears a little bit. And I've heard the story. It's probably well publicized about how you guys met and fell in love and got together. But I wanted to hear Amanda's version of it because it might be different than yours. I want to hear yours too. But it was a good story when I heard it.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I had been dating a guy for about a year, and he hated bluegrass. He hated music. And so I hadn't been to any festivals, any shows, nothing. And so we broke up, and I told Dad, I said, hey, Lonesome River Band and Third Time Out is playing this weekend, this Friday night down in Milton, West Virginia. And I said, let's go down there and see the show. And of course, Dad was elated. He was tickled to death because we hadn't been to any festivals. So we went down there, and I'm expecting to see Tim walk out, and Kenny walked out. And I looked at Mom and I said, well, who's that guy? And I said, that is not Tim. And she's like, I don't know, but he's handsome. And so we watched the whole show. And then I think somebody mentioned that Tim had decided to leave the band and start a studio and all this stuff. Well, after the show, I had made a little country cassette tape, which really tells our age, the cassette tape part. But anyway, I had my phone number in it, and I thought, well, I could give that to him, and if he searches it out, my phone number's in there, maybe he'll have a way to find me. And I almost chickened out. Mom said, go do it. I think you should go give him that tape. Go do it. And I was like, okay. So I walked up to him, and we talked for a few minutes, not very long. And I said, hey, I got this cassette tape here. I said, listen to it. Let me know what you think. If, maybe you got any advice I could, what I could do better, whatever. And so the next morning I go to church. I come home, and he had called. And so we wound up talking, I think later that evening, that he called back. And so that's pretty much. And I think we went out maybe a month later or something. And we were sitting there, and we went and seen a movie, and
Yeah,
it was real awkward. We lived 4 hours apart.
4 hours apart. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just sitting there thinking, we're sitting on Mom and Dad's couch. I thought, well, and I go, you want to pick? And then I thought, wow, what have I done? And now I got to pick with the Lonesome River Band guitar player, And back then, I played, but I hadn't played a lot, and I was nervous. Then I really got nervous. I'd play guitar in front of him. But anyways, it was good. We picked for several hours and sang.
Yeah.
And so,
Is that pretty much how it went down, Kenny, would you say?
Yeah. I just moved to Virginia after I got that job. So I'd been up there maybe a month, I think, month and a half. And, man, I kept praying, I remember praying at night, for the Lord to send me somebody to share my music with. And like I said, I'd been there a month and a half, and I hadn't met anybody in that far as music related or anything like that. And then out of the blue, we went to the Milton. We had that show, and then Amanda walked up, and I thought, man, this might be it, And I remember that cassette tape. Me and Sammy had rode together, and so I kept wanting to play her tape. But then I got to think, I thought, man, what if she's got this weird warble or something? I didn't know what to, I didn't know what to.
Sounds like a disease.
I didn't want to think so. Man, I waited till all the way home, back to Virginia, and then I finally, as soon as I walked in, I put her cassette tape in the tape player, and that's, I thought, man, this girl can sing, and she had a beautiful voice, and I just, I couldn't wait to get up there, and then then when we was on the couch, she said, "Do you want to pick?" I never had a girl say that to me before, and I just so happened to bring my guitar, and in case she did want to pick, and so yeah, but it was really neat, that first date, we found out a lot what we had in common music wise, because she knew a lot of the gospel songs that she knew. I already knew too. I remember when I first moved to Tennessee, I was singing with my cousin's group, and they had a quartet at church, and we started traveling around, and made a couple of projects and stuff. But they were really, those songs that Manda knew, is, my cousin's group, they were singing them too. So I was already pretty familiar with the stuff, and I like to say it was, it's pretty much what you hear now is what it sounded like on our first date, in her kitchen.
It's a nice sound. I would have been taken by her voice too. I always thought she had the best voice in bluegrass. So
Oh,
I love your voice. I really do.
Oh,
So getting back a little bit to Tony Rice, Kenny, every guitarist sounds somewhat like Tony Rice at a certain point, and it's hard not to because of his pioneering style in so many ways. But do you feel like you've kind of carved out your own niche that's not sounding at all like Tony Rice?
Yeah, I think so, because, back when he was really popular, in the 90s, I just moved to Tennessee, and I was starting to get into these like local guitar contests and stuff, and then later on, uh, I kind of made my way up to going out to Winfield and competing in the flat picking championship, which I knew nothing about. I just read about them in Fret's magazine and picking. I always wanted to go out there, but I never, I didn't know how big a thing it was. And, and even in those local contests I was going at, Tony's influence was so big that a lot of the contestants were playing his songs and everything. And I thought, man, if I'm going to survive, even on the contest level, I've got to set myself apart. So I started really working and digging deep inside, trying to figure out what to do, that would set me apart from the other guys that, 20 or so guys in a contest, what would set my playing apart from theirs. And so I just started, did a lot of open note stuff, ringing stuff that I heard my brother do. My brother was a banjo player, so he would be in his bedroom practicing something. I would be in my bedroom trying to practice what he was doing and trying to make it sound like a banjo, open melodic, roll. And so I just kind of carried that over to my guitar playing, and I guess it sounded enough different that people kind of, would I'd get called back, in a contest, and man, it really helped me out going to Winfield, because it just that was a lot of the contest was your arrangement and originality, and so it was a big deal, trying to come up with your own sound, and something that it was kind of hard to do. And two, I realized, I realized early on that I couldn't do what he could do, no matter how hard I tried. But his musicianship is what really drove me to do something new and to try to keep that level of guitar playing up. I mean, I think he and anybody that was playing around that time, he influenced everybody, and it was even so for me because I heard the J.D. Crowe and the New South, back when that album came out. I got it from the library, and I checked it out probably 2 or 3 months. I just kept checking it out, renewing it because I just love that band sound, that him and Ricky and Jerry, and like I say, that was the first big influence that made me want to go. I want to play in a bluegrass band like that someday, or have one of my own that had that impact.
What's the dog's name? I
Sophie.
see. Sophie?
Between her and Annabelle on my lap.
You got a load there.
Yeah.
Sophie's trying to type and eat, lick whatever's on Kenny's desk.
Who does Sophie sleep with? Does she sleep with you, Annabelle, or she sleep in a little bed somewhere?
She sleep right there. She's
Oh, right. Yeah.
Kenny,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
most, I think.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking that, leading a band and performing with a lot of artists, recording, living and traveling together, raising a daughter, that's a pretty full lifestyle. How do you keep yourself motivated to keep, stay on the road and keep performing with all these things, juggling guitar lessons too, and whatever else you do on the side? I don't know. It's a busy life.
It is. We like it though. I mean, it's like, wintertime comes, you're not as busy, and it's like you're sitting here and you're like, man, I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to get on the road and go somewhere.
Yeah.
I think it's almost like, I don't know, we enjoy being home, but like we just went to Minnesota and we drove our coach and took our extra time getting up there and got back, and we've been home part of Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday, and we're ready. I mean, we're ready to go again for this weekend. So I
So
think
how does that work out with school? And does she travel with you ever, or you
she
teach her on the
does.
road?
She's been with us since she was 4 weeks old. And she's homeschooled through Rebecca Academy, which is like a
Ah,
school. She has a school teacher, which is not me. And we put the DVDs in, and it's like she's sitting in the classroom, and I just make sure that she gets the paperwork and the test and all that stuff completed and all that. But she does really good with it because sometimes she has to do that on the road. We was at a festival last weekend, and we did school before we came out. And
yeah.
so she does good and seems to, I think. But yeah, it's a full schedule.
Yeah, man, I tell you, the trade-off is all the
It's
all
awesome.
the people that you meet on the road is
It's worth
just,
it all.
it is amazing. The friends that and I hate to call them friends because they're more like family to us. And yeah, it's just, yeah, we have family all over, and it's we'd have never, I don't feel like we'd ever met that magnitude of friends and family, if it hadn't been for music.
Right. Right. A lot of the younger players these days, many of them are going to college now studying bluegrass, which wasn't probably an option when you started out. But um, the earlier players, probably like you, just learned by listening, or maybe shape note singing or some church singing. Do you learn music now just by ear? Or do you read, or how do you pick up new songs?
I can read. I'm really slow at it, but I can read. I had a couple of took about a year of music theory class in our high school. They had every now and then our high school would do like these classes that they wouldn't normally give, and music theory was one of the it was kind of an experimental thing, and I ended up taking a full year of it, and and that one, like I say, that would have been, I'd probably been 16 years old at the time, and up until then, I had no idea what I was playing. I just it was totally by ear, and I knew very little about music. But through that, I learned how to read and learn some Bach stuff that, man, I remember when I first heard some of that stuff, I was like, wow, this is beautiful. I've got to learn that on guitar. And then, ended up learning, the music and stuff. And it opened up a pretty big world at the time for me because, I was just playing one kind of, just bluegrass and fiddle music. And then, all of a sudden I kind of stuff started to make sense, to me, why certain stuff works and what I was playing. And then, it still hasn't, I've continually learned, how to, as far as theory, kind of deep dive and kind of if you want to learn jazz, you got to go down this rabbit hole, and that's kind of what I'm at now. I just trying to learn that music, and it's tough because I never had anybody in my family that played jazz, and boy, I wish I would have really if I'd been interested, I would have took jazz in high school, but man, hindsight's 2020, I guess now. I could have learned a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting because bluegrass in some ways is very much like jazz in terms of there's usually a head arrangement and then there's solos and it comes back. But jazz guitar playing is, I would say, kind of quite different usually from bluegrass. It's much more, linear flowing, and the first position doesn't really make any difference to a jazz player. I don't know. The way they play is sometimes unbelievable to see where they go and the sounds they get, like how they move their fingers. Just amazing sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the improv is, it's pretty much the same thing in bluegrass. It's just I just love the way those guys think as far as the chord, and that's what the chord melody stuff, and that's just intriguing to me. And I try to use some of that stuff and the music that we play, and I try to throw that in there.
Do you have a favorite singer, Amanda, that you always idolize, a woman singer, or now or then, like Ella Fitzgerald or Alison Krauss, or I don't know.
Back when I was young, and now, but definitely when I was growing up, was Tammy Wynette.
Oh.
Yeah, and I got to meet her too when I was probably about 14. So that was really special. But yeah, gosh, I listened to the Judds, her, Reba, all kinds of singers. I love Allison. I think she's got one of the most unique voices that's ever graced the earth. I think she's just amazing. But yeah, gosh, there's several. I mean, I love Leanne Womack. She's great. Just throughout all these years, I mean, there's definitely, I have several favorites, but my initial favorite was Tammy Wynette.
Right. I mean, right now it's great to see so many young women making a big mark in bluegrass. I mean, it's really changed in the last 15 years. But I was wondering, Amanda, do you ever remember being bothered or upset by treatment you got as a woman? And basically, I mean, it was pretty much an all-male music up until.
I thought of it that way, but I was never brought up that way to think of anything like that. I went out there and God had my path and still does, and here I am. I've won Female Vocalist of the Year, and I'll tell you, that category, when I met Kenny and I watched that category all the way up through, it never changed. I think it changed one time in all those years, which was amazing because those women in that category was really hard to move out of that category. So if you could accomplish that, that was the winning part. Where, I mean, it fluctuates quite a bit now, but in the past, it never changed. But yeah, I never, it's funny. I did run into a thing one time at a jam where some guy was kind of being a turd. I'll just say it like it is. And the way I was always brought up, never take nothing off a man or a woman. If they're not being nice, just call them on it, and that's what I told him. I said, he's like, well, go get me a chair. I go get your own chair. And I just, to me, I don't know, it's simple. I mean, and I know not all of it is, but I know there's situations probably people's ran into. It's much different than mine, but fortunately, probably being married to Kenny helps because I'm sure they're not going to disrespect me knowing that they got to answer to him and tell him why. That probably helps, but I personally have not faced that. And I hate it if anybody has, but I really haven't had difficulties in getting gigs because I'm a girl or in a jam. My experience, if you walk up and you're a girl and you sing, they're begging you to sing.
Yeah, I remember, back,
But
man, anybody that could even, sing an Allison song, man, they were more than welcome.
they were begging you to sing in a jam.
I mean, everybody was, she was so popular, and everybody wanted to do those songs, and, man, it was just like, if somebody walked up and they could sing, it was like, wow, all of us was jumping for joy because we was wanting to play those songs that she sung,
But yeah, running a band as a girl, I mean, well, and a guy and a girl, but me, I mean, I faced a lot of people at the gate. I faced a lot of people in men and all kinds of people. And yeah, I've had to set some men straight before, but I just do that whether there's a man or a girl. I'd be like, look, a guy didn't want to let us backstage one time and was really hateful to my band member. I got out of the van. And I just said, hey, we're playing here. If you don't want to let us in, tell the promoter we'll be sitting over here. And when she's ready for us to go on stage, come and get us because you won't let us backstage. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's been fortunately easy to deal with, but I haven't really ran into a lot of that.
I guess you have a good personality to not take
I don't
any
deal
crap.
with it. I don't.
Yeah.
I was brought up not take no crap, no matter if it's a girl or guy. Just set it straight and then go on your way.
It's very rare that you that you even have problems like that. I mean, out of in a year, like you may do 100, 80 to the 100 concerts, and you might have like one problem that's not really a problem. It's just something is a lot of times it's
We're fortunate in
miscommunication or something. But man, you rarely everything's pretty organized. I mean, you rarely come across stuff like that nowadays. I mean, everybody's, especially the volunteers that's running these festivals and stuff. They got a lot of these festivals nowadays that have got their stuff together. I mean,
they got good folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember talking to Missy Raines, and she was saying that when she had her own band early on and she would go to the promoter to get paid, he would say, well, who's the leader? I want to pay the band leader. And she'd say, no, I'm the band leader. You pay me,
I've never had that. I've never had that. They go, well, you're the money girl. I'm sure you're going to take it from Kenny anyway. So here's your check. Back to Amanda Smith. So I don't know. I haven't dealt with that yet. So that's good.
So a lot of these young stars like Molly and Sierra Hull and Billy Strings are popular now, very popular, drawing in a lot of new fans. Do you see the future of bluegrass as them? Do you think the future of bluegrass is already here and they are the future of bluegrass, or like where do you see bluegrass headed as we go down the road?
Keep evolving. I think they're part of it. I think we're part of it, and Sammy Sheeler's part of it, and Rhonda Vincent's, they're the foundation of a lot of it. But yeah, thank goodness for people like Billy and everybody that come along and share their love of bluegrass with the crowds and stuff, because that can never be a bad thing. It's awesome, and it just helps the whole thing grow. But I think all of us as a whole will always be the future of bluegrass. Annabelle's taking fiddle lessons, and if she keeps playing, she'll be a part of the future of bluegrass. And that's our job out there to encourage these kids and people. Like when Sierra was little, I remember when she showed up at IBMA with Ron Block the first time, and look at her now. So it's really exciting to watch that stuff happen.
Yeah. I'm always looking for, I'm hearing some static here. I'm always looking for some young musicians to interview for the podcast, as well as, established stars like you guys. Anybody you could recommend that I haven't talked to yet, that's on your list of like an up and comer that I should talk to?
Gosh, I don't know. I
What about Jaylee Roberts with Sister
Well,
Sadie?
she's on my list.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
watched.
yeah.
We knew her. I knew when Andrea was her mama was pregnant with her. I remember that. And now look at her now. So she'd be
Yeah.
really to interview.
Jake Workman's good too.
Oh yeah,
Guitar
plays with
player
Ricky Skaggs.
out of I like his playing. He's out of Utah.
Yep. Well, that's
Zach
good. I mean, they're both kind
Arnold's a good one too. He
Zach Arnold, yeah.
he plays guitar and sings with Rhonda Vincent.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any advice you would give to yourselves, to your younger selves, looking back now, with all of your experiences? Anything you would say, wow, I wish I knew this, or you should have done this, or you feel like it just turned out okay, the way everything turned out fine?
I feel like it's turned out okay. I don't know that we would have changed much. I think back then or now we'll just continue to pray and for God to use us and people can see him in us. We had a guy last week get saved at one of our shows because he heard us sing a gospel song and it just changed his life. And to me, ultimately, that's the most important thing to me that I always want to be focused on is what, letting people out there know. We had a young guy talk to us too a few weeks ago about something he was really worried about. He knew he could come to me and Kenny because he knew that we were Christians and he knew that we wouldn't go telling everybody else. And I mean, I just want that. I want people to know that, we're here for them. And that was a peer actually. So
Yeah.
that really is such a huge success and impact to me that for people to, maybe their lives get changed by a song we sing or it lets them escape 45 minutes of worry or something that's just happened, and they see our show and they're like, they come out of there feeling a little bit better. Didn't fix the problem, but it let them escape for a little bit, I mean, that to me is I guess the biggest success of everything we do.
I mean, music is definitely the great communicator and in some ways a great healer. I mean, you're right. People do get helped, or it just gives them a different perspective on life. Sometimes hearing a song or a band can really change your life around. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Let's talk guitars a little bit. What do you guys playing guitars that are given to you by a company now, or do you play your own, or?
Mine, of course, since Lonesome River Band days, I bought it's a 1935 D18. That's probably my main guitar, and has been since then. But I like the Collings. I've got several Collings guitars. I've got a old one that just got fixed up. Collins made me a new neck for it, and I'm excited about getting to play that. I may take that one up there when we come up to Connecticut. I love that guitar, and I like that company. They're always trying to build a better guitar, and I was just down there doing some videos for a new model they got coming out called Hill Country Guitars, and yeah, I've I've always played Collins guitars, and there's a Japanese builder named Hiroshi Suda that I have several guitars by him. He's a really talented luthier there out of Osaka, Japan. That man really tries to make a traditional kind of on the lines of the pre-war Martins. He really does a good job, and yeah, I've got those guitars and several other Regal. I like the Regal, the 30s that were made back in the 30s and 40s. I have a lot of those that I'm fixing up, and then Amanda's main guitar is a 1953 D18. Yeah, yeah.
And then I have a Collings, a shaded top Collings. That's
right. Right. So do you guys plug in, or do you just play into mics? Prefer to play the old style way?
Still old style. they've come the pickups they're sounding better, but they still don't sound as good as a microphone in front of a really good sounding guitar. And I just love that sound. I don't know if they'll ever get to where they don't sound so synthetic. And I get it. I mean, as far as
I like being able to like move in and out of the mic too and kind of mix yourself a little bit dynamically. I don't know if I had to worry about stomping some pedal or turning knobs, it'd be a train wreck, but that'd be my fault.
yeah,
I don't need to add one more thing to mess up.
No, I hear you. I agree with you too. I prefer a band that plays with one condenser mic and moves in and out. But most of these days they're all with in-ears and it's all plugged in. It's
Now
a
we
different
have
world,
in
I guess.
we have
Yeah,
in-ears,
you do
which
have
is
in it. Yeah,
great. Yeah, because it
nice.
saves your voice. You don't have to sing as hard, and it definitely that's a good help. But yeah, and then we use like a mic per instrument and then vocal mics and everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I just like that. I just like band wise the dynamics you get with us being able to move in and out. It just, I mean, it works for us anyway.
it's hard to beat. I mean, I remember hearing Flat and Scruggs uh, interview one time. They asked him about they used one mic, and they said, "Boy, if these places had more than one mic, we would have used them." He said a lot of those places they played, it's like that's all they had was one working mic, and he goes, "So that if you could get that, and because
You were tickled.
yeah, because you remember, I mean, I remember seeing like Earl's group, with his boys, the Earl Scruggs Review, man, they all had mics, it's like I remember when he had his first group, it was like, man, they had separate mics. And I remember hearing, I never heard those the Earl Scruggs Review in concert, but I heard people that had went and seen them, they said they were loud. I mean, they said they were like rock band loud at a concert and stuff. So, it was, they'd worked it out, I guess, to where they could get the volume on stage, but
yeah. It's funny. I guess a lot of things that we think of as standards and kinds of music are really out of necessity. I'm thinking about like growing up listening to records, and every record was 2 minutes and 10 seconds, every 45 or less. It wasn't out of choices. That's how they could fit on the record. And like you
yeah,
say, they had one mic, and that's
That's what
it
they
evolved
use.
into a one mic. That's all they could have. So that's how they had to make it work.
Yeah.
Necessity.
right.
A
Interesting.
lot of times we show up at a show and they're like, all we have is Shure SMs 57s and 58s. We're like, perfect. It's good with us.
Yeah.
It's
That's what
awesome.
you're getting. That's what you're getting here. So
I love it. That's our favorite.
Yeah,
I'm not joking.
it's hard to beat,
They're
man.
fun to beat. We love them.
Yep.
yeah. So, Kenny, how would you say your guitar playing has changed over time? I was talking to Todd Phillips about this very question about how his bass playing had changed. He said, "Well, I play a lot less notes now, and I try to play the right ones." That was
Mhm.
his answer, and I thought that was a pretty good answer. But how has your guitar playing changed since? I mean, LRB, you were playing a lot of really fast solos. I mean, you were kicking ass on the guitar. Not that you don't still, but has your approach changed
Yeah,
over time?
it has. I pay attention to a lot of stuff. Just talking about, listen to different music. I I I pay more attention to the notes that I play. Like if I go to a new chord, there's certain notes that I'll land on, other than the root, that kind of makes it more interesting. And then um, like I remember um, I used to play, like you said, notes, and I think I don't play notes. I think I play with play emotion, which has changed for me. Kind of, it's the same songs, but I don't know. There's something happens, I think, when you stay around the music long enough. It's like, okay, I'm kind of like Todd Phillips. I want to play something that really matters, you know, and really I practice on that, you know, is to try to get the right feel, the right groove. And that's the thing too. I've figured out that the rhythm has a lot more to do with bluegrass than the actual lead does. And I've figured out, you know, that is that's an ongoing thing. I kind of knew it back then, was with LRB, but now I really know it, that the rhythm is really important as far as a band sound. And that's what I've really locked in. Probably the past, 15 years, I've really locked into that.
Yeah.
And
It's funny when I was talking to Clay Hess on one of these podcasts and asked him that same question. He said, I play, it's all about emotion now. I don't really care about the notes. I'm trying to capture the essence of the song, what it means, and play that. So it's kind of similar to what you're saying, I guess.
yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, and all the players, I think we all change, but at the end of the day, it's how that song affects other people, and
Mm.
that's what we're trying to do.
But if you had a simple tip that you could give to a guitar player, would be focus on the rhythm more than playing hot
Yeah,
leads?
definitely. Yeah, that rhythm, especially in bluegrass, I won't say that it's everything, but it's a lot of it. It's without that rhythm and that rhythm sound, um, you're not left with much. And that's what when I hear these groups like Bob Wills, Texas Playboys, these really good groups that I like to listen to, man, they all had this rhythm.
Strong rhythm.
They had strong rhythm, even Bill Monroe's, that first group, they had rhythm. And that's, you need that. I don't care how good of a,
Which I will add, Kenny has a guitar website you can subscribe to where he teaches on it at kennysmithguitar.com. That's what he's working on today, is August lesson.
yeah.
Well, I was hoping you'd get to that because that's important that you plug that.
Yeah.
He loves to teach, and he won't say, but he is a great teacher, and I've really seen a lot of pickers evolve at a music camp or a workshop from his teaching, and I'm proud of him because he does all the video, all the editing, all the ideas for it he comes up with, and I want people to know about it because it's definitely a
Yeah, it's fun for me.
thing.
I mean, because I put up a new lesson each month, and sometimes two lessons, but I put up a new lesson each month, and I've loved working on that. This doing the new lessons and trying to share what I've learned and try to keep people from. I mean, I'd say I made most of the mistakes that a guitar player can make, and if I can steer somebody off that road, and keep them from going into the ditch, like I did. If I can, as far as technique or, how to sound smoother, and just take the physical part of playing out of, a guitar's kind of physical anyways. And I try to take a lot of that out of the playing as I can. So that I really hit that hard on my website, how to get the most out of your sound without hardly doing anything physically.
I'm going to include a link to your teaching website on my next group email because I think it's important that people know that you can get a lesson with you and you're going to learn something. It's a lot of people struggle at home trying to learn how to play any instrument, and it's sometimes a little tip here and there will put you over to a whole new level.
Yeah.
That you never thought about.
Yeah, I got a subscription. They can, if they just want to try it out, they can buy a month and, cancel after that. But hopefully they'll see some.
The longer you can upgrade or whatever, but the longer you join, like a year is 23 a month or something, or 26, and 1 month's 35. But he gets $100 an hour just to sit down with somebody. So it's a great deal because you're getting all the lessons that's on that website at your own pace. You can pause, So we tried to make it, a good deal where people would be encouraged to sign up and learn.
Well, I'm glad you got that out there, and I will put a word out on my email about that too, because I think it's
Thank
important.
Appreciate it.
So, Amanda, what's the nicest compliment you've gotten lately?
Oh, well, I'm trying to think here. Let's
You
see.
can ask Ken to leave the room if you want. If you want to be, you want to be honest.
We have one in Ohio that was pretty good.
No. Oh my goodness. Sometimes they can be pretty comical things. But gosh, I'm trying to think. Somebody the other day said, I don't remember now. And I remember saying, gosh, that's really a sweet compliment. Oh, I don't know. I
Well,
mean, it always means a lot when people like your singing, because there's, as you mentioned, a lot of girls out there too. I don't even want to use the word compete. I don't mean that, but you're just amongst all these Rhonda Vincent and Allison Krauses and Dale Ann Bradley's. And man, when somebody comes up and they say, I'll tell you one, here's one, Russell Moore. Last year, a year before, he was talking to me backstage. He goes, I just want to tell you something. He said, when you and Kenny come on the radio, I know as soon as you start singing, I know it's you. And I said, wow. I'm like, I don't even need any other nominations in my life or awards, because that right there, when somebody you look up to who is an incredible singer says a statement like that, it's like, wow, okay, we've made it. When you come on the radio and somebody realizes it's your music or it's you singing or him playing, that's really our goal every time we make a record or get on stage. We don't want to mimic anybody that we've looked up to or whatnot. We wanted our own sound, and that's always really meaningful when somebody recognizes that, because that's what we've strived for.
well, I think that is the ultimate for a performer. When you hear two notes, it's them. There's so many people you could hear a whole song, you don't know who it is.
Yeah, it's
Right.
true.
Especially now, there's so many, and I mean, there's a lot of great players and singers, but they're not all distinctive. But you guys, when I hear your voice, I know it's you on the radio. I mean, I recognize
Thank you.
distinction from you don't sound like Rhonda Vincent or Amanda Cook or any of these other people. So I guess that is a compliment that is
Yeah, and I love
well
them.
earned.
I don't mean it in any disgrace to them at all, because I'm a big fan of them. I just don't ever want them to feel I'm copying them or it's such a big compliment to know that you've made a mark enough that people realize it's Amanda Smith and not, whoever else. So that's always
I remember we were playing we had our group probably at least 5 years, I think. And I remember at one of our shows, somebody hollered out a tune that we did that we had recorded, and that it was pretty much 5 years from when we started that actually happened.
But they started requesting our songs.
Yeah.
Because the first 5 years was lonesome. It was not the case, and it's like a hard road to hoe. It's like, oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
we weren't doing any covers, and we were doing mostly original music, and nobody didn't know our songs. They didn't, we'd do a whole show, and like I say, it was, and then you hear plenty of bands that were doing cover stuff, what was really popular, all around us, but. Man, it at first, man, like Amanda said, it was pretty lonesome because, I mean, we were trying to make our mark, and but I remember it was about a 5 year run there where finally, people started shouting out our tunes.
And I tell you, one time we was on a cruise playing, and Mile 12 was on there with us, and we were all in a library like room, and they were jamming. And those kids, I call them kids because I'm double their age. So even in their 20s, they're kids to me. But they start going, hey, play that. Will you all do House Down Block? And I'm thinking, oh, they don't know that. Man, they played it just like the record. And then they go on to another one of our songs. Will you do this song? We've always wanted to play this with you. And man, we sat in there, and it happens every once in a while. These young people will come up and be like, hey, will you play this song, with me? I learned it. And that's just like, the sweetest compliment that you could, that they enjoyed our music and listened to it. And that evening they knew it. We was able to jam with them, and we had never picked before, and they just killed it. And anyways, it was just really a sweet moment for us.
Yeah. Those guys, they played up here quite a lot, Mile 12, and they were lovely people, great musicians, but they slept over here a few times. I mean, they would have breakfast with us and shoot the breeze, and it was fun.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if they're still doing much together. I know Bronwyn left, and now she's making it big on the Bluegrass charts, which I'm happy to see. But so when you guys are on the road, do you have a favorite food that you always search out? I was talking to Michael Cleveland about this. He goes, pizza. I said, have you ever had New Haven pizza, the best in the world? He said, no, but I've heard about it. I'm going to have it next time I'm up that way. What about you guys? You have a certain...
I do love pizza. Pizza would be my second, but our first, and it's our favorite food group. Like I tell the crowds all the time, I'm pretty sure it's on the pyramid, but the eating pyramid, but it's Mexican food.
Gotcha.
We could write a book on restaurants clear across the country, but yeah, pizza would be my second.
Mine have to be Texas barbecue. I got to about couple
First
of
knowing for me, I thought it was Mexican.
I like Mexican. That'd be my first, but Banjo Ben took a little trip to around Lockhart and a lot of those places that up in Texas there that's really popular. And man, I have never tasted anything in my life like that. It was amazing.
Yeah, I'm losing the
whip. So
yeah.
we I think we visited maybe 8 or 10 barbecue places in 2 days. Man, it was at the end I was having to work my jaw. I mean, it was like I'd had so much brisket, man. But I couldn't, man, you can't quit eating it. That's the thing. It was so good that, I mean, I was in heaven. I mean, far as that goes, I never had tasted that like that type of barbecue before. And man, it's amazing. Every time last time, a couple of weeks ago, we got to go to Austin, and we got to do that all over. But man, it's amazing down there. It's really good stuff.
So I guess that inspired you to do your welding in the backyard, right?
Oh yeah, man. I was like, man, when I came back from that trip, I was like, I've got to make me one of these Texas offset tank,
So I can make hundreds of pounds of pork meat that we can only eat 2 pounds
pork.
of.
It's all beef.
Whatever, beef, pork.
Yeah.
Lord.
You're getting in Texas, man.
So Chris, I'll be mailing you some poundage of some kind of pulled beef, some kind of brisket or something. We won't be able to eat it all.
Well, here's the thing. My youngest daughter is vegan. We're pretty much vegetarian for like the last 3 or 4 years. So I mean, I love hearing about that stuff. I love smelling it. I used to like eating it, but I haven't had pork or beef or chicken in a long time, and it's just a different thing. So give it to your neighbors.
Okay.
Oh, they'll eat it. We're in Tennessee.
So this is a tough question for people, but what would people be surprised to learn about you that's not commonly known? And not to reveal any deep secrets, but anything that you would say, wow, nobody knows I like to, whatever, parachute or anything come to mind?
And quilt.
Okay.
I never get to, but I like to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Gosh, we're doing this so much, it's hard to have a hobby.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads me to my last question then. If you had a week off, or if you've ever had a week off with nothing, no music committed, no recording, no traveling, where would we find you?
Camping. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love the beach too, but I really like camping in the mountains, and definitely if it's fall and it's cooler and I can sit outside and drink my coffee. It is just
Yeah.
read a book. It's just so peaceful and kind of lets you reset. And I don't know. I love that'd be my favorite thing.
Yeah, that's what we do.
We've done it for ever since we've met.
Yeah.
It's camp if we get an opportunity. I mean, with time off, we've always camped.
We used to have this 1967 Scotty.
It was so tiny. I don't even think it was but 11 feet long.
Yeah. We called it.
So short.
Yeah.
It was itty bitty.
It was just 50, I think it was just a 15-foot
Okay.
camper.
It was little.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we used to call it the Scotty with a potty.
Yes, it had a restroom in it, which I thought was amazing because I'm not one to trek out through the middle of the night where there's bears and things.
Gotcha.
It was pretty cool. But yeah, we've had fun times camping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So do you try and make time every year to take a little time to get away and just rejuvenate?
We do. Yeah, we try to. Yeah.
Yeah, we always camp July 4th
Mhm.
with some really good friends of ours, the Arnold family, and yeah, we do that every year. And then in the fall, we got a pretty busy fall this year, but we try to at least go a couple weeks, here and there, or even if it's just for a weekend, we'll try to do that as much as we can.
We've even went camping in December before.
Yeah.
Because that was the only time we had left. And we was like, well, we're just going to have to suffer and freeze.
Yeah, bring your long underwear and go for it.
Yeah, just go for it.
It's one of the saddest moments too for us when we have to go winterize.
Oh, yeah, the coach. We hate to winterize.
That kind of locks you in there, and that you can't just take off. But I guess you could. You just have to
You'll be able to use the water
have to do it all over
because it
again.
could freeze.
Right.
Pipes, you know. Yeah, always have to winterize in the winter.
Yeah. Well, the winters are getting milder up here. I know that. I don't know how it is down there, but the last winter we had up here, I do little maple syruping on my street trees here, and man, the season was over, but like the end of December. Usually it's March, so it's crazy.
Oh wow!
It was very warm. It was very warm up here last winter. No snow, so whatever. You just adapt.
We just need to come your way. I'm certain it'll do it. It'll dump about 4 feet on you. Usually what happens to us.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, is there anything else you guys would like to add before I wrap this up? It's been a little over an hour, and there's a lot of things I'd like to talk about, but I like to keep these to around an hour just so people will listen.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to coming up there again.
Yeah. See you in another week.
Now, you bringing your daughter up with you, or?
No, she's going to stay with my sister, I think, because we coming to see you and then playing in Maine, and it's pretty much a fly up Friday, fly back Sunday morning kind of thing. It's a quicker trip, so I try not to take her on them real quick ones like that if we don't have to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for chatting on the podcast. I've really enjoyed. I wish we had more time, but it's been fun and funny to talk to you guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.
Yes. Well, thanks for having us and asking us to do it.
Yep. All right, and I'll send you the link when it'll probably be live later tonight, and I'll send you the link if you want to hear yourselves. Okay. Well, thanks again, guys. We'll see you in a week.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed our podcast, and thanks for listening. Visit our website, guitartownct.com, for concert and podcast schedules, or just to send us a message. We'd love to hear from you.